Hello, my name is Emma, and today we will talk about most and almost. Many learners make mistakes with these words. So first of all, I want to show you some mistakes, and I want you to ask yourself, are you making these mistakes? Then I will teach you how to use most of, almost, all, and almost, how to use these words correctly. So let's get started by looking at some common mistakes I see. Most of people like movies. Is this sentence correct? So you have most of people. This is not correct. You might be surprised. Why is this not correct? If you have most of, you either need to say the, or, even better for this example, just say most people. And I'll explain the difference between most of the people and most people in a moment. But yeah, most people like movies. Oh, better. Okay, what about the next sentence? Do you make a mistake like this? Almost friends live here. Almost friends live here. So this is a mistake. We need more here. We could say almost all of my friends live here. So that's one possibility. There's different possibilities on how to fix this. But yeah, if you said almost friends live here, that would be a mistake. It's not grammatically correct. And again, we'll talk about almost all in a moment. What about this one? Most cats don't like dogs. I think that's true, but from a grammar perspective, there's a mistake. What's the mistake? Cats. So most, if you're dealing with countable nouns like cats, you need it to be plural. So I'll talk a little bit about countable and uncountable nouns with most in a moment. So the most important thing for you to know right now is that it's easy to make mistakes with most and almost. So be careful. So let's start with most. What does most mean? Well, most is when you're talking about the largest part of something. It's the majority of something. We can even say it's like 50% to 99% of something. So it's not 100%, but it's the majority. So let's look at an example. Most cats like to sleep. So I want to first point out that most cats like to sleep. What does this mean? Well, it means that the majority of cats like to sleep. There's probably one or two cats who don't. I don't know, I'm not a cat expert, but the majority of cats like to sleep. We could even say maybe 50% to 99% of cats like to sleep. So we use most with nouns. So not with verbs, we use most with nouns. And those nouns can be countable nouns or uncountable nouns. It's okay if you don't know the difference between countable or uncountable. I'll explain the difference between the two. Here's a sentence with a countable noun. Books. When we have a countable noun, we often have to do something to make it into the plural form. So I have 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, 4 books. So in this case, we add an S to the word book, and we can, we call it countable when we need to add an S or make something plural when we're using it. So some nouns are called countable nouns. So most books are available online. This means the majority of books, so between 50 to 99% of all books, are available online. We can also use most with uncountable nouns. So for example, music is an uncountable noun. We don't add an S to it. I don't say 1 music, 2 music, 3 music, 4 music. No, I just say music. So we consider it an uncountable noun. And so I can say most music is available on Spotify. What does this mean? It means the majority of music, or 50 to 99% of music, is available on Spotify. So if you're using a countable noun, you need to turn the noun into the plural form with most. So in this case, books. If you're using an uncountable noun, like love, you don't need to add an S. You can say most love is hard to find, maybe, or something like that. Okay, so another thing I just wanted to point out here is that we don't use of in this case. Notice there's no of here. I'm not saying most of cats, most of books, most of music. We're talking generally, and you'll see what I mean by this in a moment. But we just have most and the noun. There's nothing between those two things. Most, noun. Most, noun, most, noun. So now let's talk about almost all, because most and almost all are very similar. I've even kept almost everything the same here to show you how similar they are. The difference between most and almost all is when we use almost all, we're talking about like the majority, but like 90% plus. So remember I said most was like 50% to 99.9%. Almost all is when you're really focusing on close to 100%. So when we say almost all, we're emphasizing that it's just about 100%. It's nearly 100%. But the grammar is the same. So, for example, before I said most cats like to sleep, I can also say almost all cats like to sleep. In this case, I'm just really stressing it's like almost 100%. Here we have another sentence. Almost all books are available online. And then I used it with the second sentence. Almost all music is available on Spotify. So almost all is followed by a noun, just like most. And the noun can be countable or uncountable. So most and almost all are very similar. So how is most of the something different than most? Well, first of all, we never say most of. We always have either an article, the, or we can have a possessive pronoun like your, my, his, her, their, our. So there always needs to be something between of and the noun, which I'll show you in a moment. But remember, it's most of the, or most of my, most of her, most of their. So it's not just most of. So most of the means the largest part or the majority of something, like 50 to 99%. So it has almost the same meaning as most, but with one important difference. And that's, we are talking about a specific group. Most is used for general. Most of the is used for specific. So let me show you some examples so you can understand this. Most presidents are men. So I'm talking generally. I'm talking, if you think about the world in general, most presidents are men. But now imagine I want to be specific. What presidents? Well, the presidents in the USA. In the USA makes it specific. Which presidents? Oh, the presidents in the USA. Most of the presidents in the USA have been Republican. So most presidents are men, talking generally in the world. Most of the presidents in the USA have been Republican. General, specific. And again, notice when we are being specific, we add of and either the, or we can add my, his, her, but we need to add something after of. Let's look at another example. Most friends will talk every year. So this is a general statement. Who are these friends? I don't know. Friends in general. Your friends, his friends, her friends, all friends. So we're talking generally. Friends in the world. Most friends will talk every year. Now, if I want to make this specific, I could say most of my friends. Whose friends? My friends. Now it's a specific group. It's not general, it's specific. Most of my friends live in other countries. So that's a specific sentence. And again, you will notice we have of, but of needs something right after it. Again, it could be the, my, your, his, her. There needs to be something here. I should also mention that there are some expressions in English which will follow most of the. An example is most of the time. Most of the time, we use it this way. So you won't see most time. It's a expression you can memorize. Most of the time. Most of the time, I spend watching dramas and romances. Most of the time, I feel cold. That's why I have a nice warm sweater on today. Even though I'm Canadian, I don't like the cold, which that's our secret. So now let's look at some other examples of this so you really understand the difference between most and most of the. We have most Canadians like winter. This is not 100%. I don't like winter, and I'm Canadian. But most Canadians like winter. We're talking very generally. We're not talking about a specific group of Canadians. We're talking about Canadians generally, so we can use most. Now compare this to the next sentence. Most of the people in my class are nice. So in this case, I'm talking about the people in my class. So it's a very specific group. So I can use most of the people. And again, it's important. You have of, but after of, you need something. It can either be the, my, your, his, her, or some sort of possessive pronoun like that, but you need something there. It can't just be most of people. All right, well, let's look at the next example. Most of movies I watch are dramas. Is this sentence correct? I hope you said no, it's not correct. Because you could, you could say of the. So most of the movies I watch are dramas. So you see, if you just say most of movies I watch are dramas, that's incorrect. But if you say most of the movies I watch are dramas, that's a great sentence. That's good. Okay, what about the next one? Most students like English. I think there's a problem here. Any ideas what it is? Well, let's think about the noun student. Can we count student? Is it a countable noun? 1 student, 2 students, 3 students, 4 students. Okay, so it's a noun that needs an S. It's countable, so should have an S. Most students like English. I hope that's true. I don't think that's true, but I hope that's true. Okay, so those are some examples. one other thing I just wanted to mention is almost all again. So I mentioned almost all can be used just like most, but where most is talking about the majority, meaning 50 to 99%, almost all is really emphasizing it's nearly 100%. It's so close to 100%. So most is here, almost all is here. It's more than most. We can use almost all of the something, just like we can use most of the something. So I could even change this to almost all of the movies I watch are dramas. That would be correct. I can change this one to almost all of the people in my class are nice. So we use it from a grammar perspective in a very similar way. The difference is that if you're using almost all of the versus most of the means the majority, like 50 to 99%. Almost all means like you're so close to 100%. Almost all of the means you're very close to 100% in a specific situation. So here's another example. Almost all of the people in my class are nice. And I'm using of the because we're talking about a specific group. Okay, so we've covered most of the, almost all, and almost all of the. So the best way to learn something is to practice, especially grammar items like this. I recommend you check out our quiz at www.engvid.com, and there you can practice lots of questions to make sure you really understand these concepts. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.